Hi everyone, I'm Perry, part of the UK allotmenteers, and today I'm going to show you from the start to finish how to grow tomatoes. Today's video is quite long, so I'm going to go from the start to finish, so feel free to leave any time and just come back as and when you need to throughout the season. Once you get the taste of homegrown tomatoes, you'll never want to go back to shop bought ones. The taste is something different. But before you touch anything and before you buy any seeds, I just want to take you through some different types of tomatoes and what the kind of uses are, because there is quite a big variety. So we've got things like, it's not quite a beefsteak, but your bigger tomatoes often used for like cooking. Your plum ones can be used for like pasta sauces and things, whereas your cherry ones, so ones like this, like little round ones, they're extra tasty, like really tasty. You can have them as snacks or in salads and things, chopped up as part of a meal. And then you've also got some really teeny tiny sweet pea ones. But then you can also on the market find random ones like these shimmer ones and bumblebee type ones, so black and yellow. So when we're growing, we try to grow a bit of a mix. So throughout this video we look at things like seeds, young plants, final planter positions, and I've got quite a few little tips to get the best out of your tomatoes, feeding your tomatoes, watering styles, and it's just giving you the long progression throughout the season, so you can always come back to the video like I said. So stay tuned and hope you enjoy the video. Okay, so step one, you need to buy obviously tomato seeds. We've been using ones from Plant World Seeds. We're trying Nicky's Nursery this year. And also another reliable place to buy your tomato seeds is Sutton's, and it'll also give you information on what you're to do. So they're like 3 different types. What you need to do as well, get quite organised. So as you can see down here, we've already got our plant labels, and we've got like different coloured ones, and you'll need a pencil to mark them because pens will just wash off. So with the tomato seeds, not sure if you can see, but there's an example. So you've got a good seed and a bad seed. You're looking for the ones on this side. The darker coloured ones are bad ones, so to get rid of them. And ones that are like plump with lots of hairs on are going to be your better seeds to use. So when you're sowing your seeds, look for the ones that are plump and with a lot more hairs on. And that's pretty much it. So we're sowing our seeds on April the 1st. To go outside. If you're going to keep them in a greenhouse, you can sow them early obviously. When you've sown your seeds, get them on a warm windowsill. Hopefully they'll germinate within 7 to 12 days, but that says on the seed pack. And that's it for step 1. So when it comes to sowing the seeds, we've been using these peat-free ones. If you don't know what peat-free means, look it up. It's just about like the bugs in the environment, so that's a lot more environmentally friendly. So the seeds we're using this time are the ones from Nicky's Nursery, and we've gone with Mountain Magic, which is it's a blight resistant variety, which is better for outdoor growing, and that way you'll not lose your crops to tomatoes as early. When you're sowing the seeds, I like to just put them on there, something like that. And if you struggle, if you just lick your finger, then you can pop them on easy enough. They're usually about 1.5 centimetres, so it's got the centimetres and the inches on the side. If you haven't got that, but you'll have a ruler and pencil cheaply, just mark it on there and then you can just pop them in. So tomato seeds are usually about 1.5 centimetres. And that's it. So with your labelling, I normally put the variety on the front because I've got lots of different varieties, and then the date on the back so you know. So if it hasn't germinated within about 2 weeks, you might as well sow another one. And then what we do as well, a lot of plastic, we've got different coloured sticks, and then that's where we can have like different, so aubergines could be purple, chilies could be yellow, and that way it just makes it a bit easier to differentiate when you've got loads of things growing everywhere. So that's it for sowing seeds, pretty easy. So hopefully now you're ready for step 2. We're just in the greenhouse because it's a little bit windy, so we don't want it picking up on the video. Your tomatoes could either look like this or this. And these ones here are needing putting into a bigger pot so that they've got more room for the roots to grow. And often you can decide that by, you can see underneath the roots are starting to show. But these have definitely been left a little bit long. And then sometimes you could just repot them if they've gone a bit leggy, which these look like it, so they've either had too much heat or not enough sunlight. I think these haven't had enough sunlight, so I'm going to transplant them today into a smaller pot. If you're repotting, these are leeks, these aren't tomatoes, but if you've sown them in like a seed tray like that, just make sure the compost is nice and moist when you're transplanting them, and try and use like a pencil or something to ease them out. And when you're taking the tomatoes out, don't pull them by the stems, because if you snap the stem you've lost the tomato, but if you pull by the leaves and you lose a leaf, you've just lost a leaf. So always remember to try and pull them out and ease them out nice and gently, like that. So today we're just going to do, I'm going to repot these ones and show you how to do that one. So we've got some, we're going to reuse some of these pots that we've used from before, using the peat-free compost. If you haven't got any bigger pots, I like Ice Blast when I go to the cinema, so we've been using them. And also with the see-through ones, you can then see the roots. Just make sure you've got holes in the bottom. So the first bit is obviously just getting them out, remember, by the leaves. And what we're looking to do this time, so if you just come in, if you can see here, you've got the little hairy legs. All of them will form roots. So what we're going to do is we're just going to remove these 2 leaves here, and we're going to plant right up there, because there's still a little hairy bits there which will form roots. So then the stronger the root system, the better the plant. Removing the leaves so that they just don't rot, and then if you sink that right in, just grab a bit more compost. So if you can get it any higher, you could go up to there. Obviously these pots weren't deep enough. And then once you've done that, just give it a little water. So I'd recommend getting like smaller watering cans or sprayers, and it's just easier for when you're watering. Or this one, and it's just a little bit easier to water the plants. So that's it for step 2. The risk of frost have passed. The evenings are a lot warmer now, so if you're planting your tomatoes out in your allotment or in your garden, now is the time. So I'm just going to take you through some top things to plant in your tomatoes. I'll tell you what they are, and then I'll show you how to plant them after. So we've got a range of different things if you want to grow like perfect tomatoes, and I think this is like the most important part of the video, so just stay tuned. So what we've got is a bag of compost to go in the hole. We've got some blood, fish and bone, some crushed eggshells, Epsom salts. You can get ordinary Epsom salts from anywhere, but we've got them from the gardens there. And then just a packet of aspirin. So the reason you do that is compost to just give us some nutrients. The eggshells help with blossom end rot because it's got calcium in, so if you can grind them up as smaller pieces as you can, they'll break down a bit quicker, and then that helps with the blossom end rot what you can sometimes suffer on your tomatoes. Blood, fish and bone, or you can use fish heads. We haven't got access to any fish heads, but when it breaks down it releases different trace elements that are helpful for your tomato plants. The Epsom salts, so tomatoes suffer quite bad with magnesium deficiency, so this helps add to that. And then when you're putting that in, make sure it's at the bottom and not touching the roots. And that's it for that. We've used clear pots out tomatoes. You can see the root system was nice and good in that. Remember to soak the plant before you take it out. Remove the 2 bottom leaves. And this is pretty much the last time you're going to be able to plant as high as you can. If you can see in there, the roots are amazing. So I've just put a spoonful of the Epsom salts into the hole first. Remember to put that in first so that the roots don't directly touch it straight away. The Epsom salts help the plant with magnesium, as tomato plants often suffer from magnesium deficits, and that cures like the yellow leaves and things, helps the tomatoes be better at producing the tomatoes. So they're in first. Next thing is the aspirin. So this helps boost the plant's immunity, and it's the salicylic acid that's found in the aspirins that boosts the plant's immunity. So you can just crush that up and put that in the hole as well. Next thing is the fish blood and bone. We put this in as it contains like trace elements such as potassium and calcium and phosphorus that will help the plant, so it's literally just a sprinkle of that in there. Next thing is the crushed eggshells. Going to find some ones that are really small down the bottom. So that helps with your blossom end rot because there's calcium found in, so hopefully if they break down quick enough, it's going to add to that. And then to top it off, either well rotted manure or just some compost. So get your tomato plant, because the roots are nice and wet, you can just tease them out. And then we'll put that in nice and deep. You can use some more compost to fill it right up. So that's the tomato in its home. And then the next one is just a little idea I've come up with if you're planting your tomatoes outdoors. So as you can see just here, we've got plastic bottles around, so with a sharp Stanley knife, if you just cut round, if you're under 16, get a responsible adult. So what we use these for, as our allotment's a little bit windy, when the plants are young, it's going to act as a bit of a windshield. Also might make a little microclimate in there and keep the temperature up. And then as the tomatoes grow, you can either use that to water into that, and it stops the water from spilling out everywhere and it just evaporating. Or what you can do is fill it up with compost, and again what I showed you earlier, with the hairs growing out, you get a bigger root system and then a stronger plant. So you can either do the one or two. We started last year by watering and then adding a bit of soil and also some comfrey leaves, because the comfrey leaves should break down and also feed the plant. So then all you do is just carefully get the leaves inside and then just work that into the ground so it's nice and stable. And then, because we haven't got a frame, we've just invested in some strong canes, and then we'll just tie them up. So we often put that in there as well, and that should help if we do have the strong winds, that the plastic bottle, it's not going to fly away, it's now secured in, so then you can just water straight into that. The other method I'm going to show you in the greenhouse later is just with a bit of string, so I'll show you that after this. And then that should be it for when you're planting out. Make sure you give that a good drink, because it's obviously wet and dry here at the minute. And you should see your tomatoes growing up and shooting away in no time. Once to start fruiting the outdoor tomatoes, we're going to put some bicarbonate soda or baking soda, sprinkle that around the bottom, and that'll make your tomatoes sweeter. So I've read, so we tried it and we're going to try it again this year because our tomatoes were pretty good last year, especially the Sun Gold and Mountain Magic. This is that variety, Mountain Magic here, which are hopefully a bit more blight resistant as well. So that's it for the outdoor ones. Okay, so if you're not fortunate enough to own an allotment or an outdoor growing space where you can put tomatoes in direct, you can always grow them in pots, either in a greenhouse or just outside. It's easy enough. So what you'll need is a pot about this size with holes in the bottom for drainage. When you plant about this size, so it's roughly 3 times the size of the pot that's in, it's time for it to go in. What we've done is we've pre-wet this, so you can see it dripping out, and make it easy for the root ball just to pop in. We've also pre-made our special mix that I showed you up in the allotment. That was just with the eggshells, the aspirin, the bloodfish and bone and things in it. So what we're going to do is, remember we said about the roots growing anywhere on here, we're going to plant them nice and deep, so we're going to look to take off roughly the bottom 3 leaves. And discard them. We've got our soil-based pig-free compost, so if we just plant a bit in the bottom. So put the compost in the bottom, add the special mix, give that a little mix. So we give this a good water about 20 minutes before, so it's absolutely soaking. Remember not to just yank it out, give it a little bit of a squeeze. And that's what it should look like there. Just tease that out a little bit, should be nice and easy because it's wet. And then all we're going to do is just carefully pour this in. Get a bit more in there. So what this does is create a bigger root system. And in turn that's going to make a stronger, healthier plant, which will make it better for disease resistance, but also give you a lot more healthier and tastier tomatoes. So just doing that. 2 seconds, I'll just get the water in time. So give that another good soak, because then that'll increase the contact between the roots and the compost that you've already put in there. The difference we have got on this one is, we're at the garden, we had the plastic to water in. This is obviously confined in the pot, so all the water should go down. Another thing you can add is we're going to put some basil into pots just next to the tomatoes. And also, this is supposed to be marigolds, but as you can see we've got a hungry visitor that keeps eating them. There's a few hiding under there. So marigolds will deter the pests as well a little bit, so we'll put them in next to that. Just as a bit of an added thing, I'm going to mulch around the base with the straw. So if it's in the greenhouse and it gets wet, if it's in the greenhouse and it gets warm, that's going to help conserve the moisture in the soil. If it's outside and it's raining, it prevents the splashback of the rain droplets, and that's one of the things that can cause blight, so the straw should help that from splashing back up. Once you've done that, your spacings want to be roughly 18 to 24 inches apart with your next tomato. That's just to increase the airflow, and then that'll stop any airborne fungal diseases catching. It also decreases the humidity, which helps the plants with evaporation and things, so keep them quite spaced apart if you can, if possible. And then I think that's about it. So just the final thing, you've now got to be cruel to be kind. So leave your tomatoes, watering them for about 4 to 6 days, and just let them roots find their own way. So don't water them now for a few days, leave them to suffer a little bit. So as you can see, that one was bamboo. We've got string here. You can use anything else as long as you can attach it with like different things. So we've got some ribbon from a birthday present. We've got like bits of like metal with plastic, but sometimes they can dig into the plants. You can also use like ripped bits of t-shirt, elasticy string, anything will tie them up, and as long as it's holding it secure in place. When you're tying them up, you can do a bit of a figure eight. So if you come in now, so if you go like that, and then you can pull that tight onto the bamboo cane, and then just make your figure of eight from that, and that should hold it in. Or you can tie a bow with the string, and just make sure that they're not too tight on the plant, otherwise you're going to restrict it from growing. So with the string method, you tie it up the top. We've just had to improvise as well by making a bit of string that goes along the top. So we've just got some normal garden hooks. It's taking us here just to do it. So literally just tying it on, it's not too tight, there's plenty of slack in there, and get that close. And this is why it's better to do when the plants are young, so there's less root damage. And then literally all we're going to do as the plant grows now is just tie it round nice and gently. That's why you've got a bit slack. And that's it. So then that should just grow up to there. So you've got a couple of different options to tie up. Obviously you're going to have to probably use the bamboo one if you're growing outside, or if you've got like a structure that you can tie things to, then you can. But yeah, anything that will hold the tomatoes in place is ideal and what you need to do. Okay, so hopefully your tomatoes are starting to look like something like this. One of the next jobs we're going to do is remove the suckers. I've also been leaving these because you can also clone plants. So if I can just bring you a little closer, what you're looking for is, imagine you're upside down and that's the person's body, that's the person's arm, and this is the armpit. If you see them bits there that are at 45 degrees, so there's 2 examples there, if you can see them, all you're going to do is put some pressure on with your thumb and just remove them like that. Simple as that, because what we're doing is we're growing on a cordon, so we should be just growing on one stem. The suckers are produced of a plant, so this is the next thing I'm going to show you as a bit of like an added tip. So this one here is a sucker, but now it's grown quite big, and then that will take all its energy away. So what you're going to do is remove it, just remove them bottom few leaves, and then if you pop it in a glass of water for a few days, that should clone exactly the same as that. So you're kind of getting 2 plants for the price of 1. Just leave that in for a few weeks and you'll see the roots growing. Once that happens, you can put it in a little pot with some compost and it should take off. Put it in somewhere like that's sunny and light, and that's it. So that'll clone that, and it's extra tomatoes. Nice and simple. Free tomato plants. So them suckers that you removed a few weeks ago and then popped them in water should now be rooting up to something like this. And then because we've been doing a few different plants, we've also got this jungle of tomatoes in here. Again, some good root systems. So basically what you do now is just put that straight in the ground and then that should grow. And then there'll be an exact clone of the tomato plant that you took the sucker from. and then that's it for cloning your own tomatoes. You want to be watering your tomato plants roughly here in the UK 2 to 3 times a week. So we often pick the days and have a bit of a schedule, so we understand. So we'll have like a Monday, Wednesday and a Friday. So where you want to water your tomatoes is nice and low. We've got these little plastic things down here just to keep the concentrate doesn't go anywhere. So nice and low and nice and slow. How of watering your tomatoes, you want to be doing it nice and slowly. If you haven't got like a rose or anything, just put your thumb on there so the water doesn't rush out, and then pop it over, and then you can just take your thumb off and release it slowly. Doing that slowly then lets the water seep into the roots, and it creates like a stronger root system, because you don't want lazy roots where the water's just in the top and they just stay at the top. So I'm just going to briefly talk to you about feeding your tomato plants. You've got a couple of different options. So your first option is like buying a tomato fertiliser from the shops, and what you do is just pretty much just put a capful in every 1 to 2 weeks. The second option is what we normally use is making your own free stuff. So you can use comfrey leaves by simply we just force them into there, put them with water, put the date on and leave it for about 6 weeks, and then you know when it's ready, because it's probably one of the worst things you've ever smelled in your life. Like, it absolutely stinks. And then we usually, so our watering can's that big, we normally put about that much in every 1 to 2 weeks. And you should normally start feeding your tomatoes once they've started like fruiting, as you can see behind. And we normally do it on a Friday. We call it Feeding Friday, and that way you don't forget. And then I think that's it for feeding your tomatoes. Because we're going to give the tomato plants a bit of a haircut. As you can see on these tomatoes here, the trusses are already forming. So for outdoor tomatoes, you want to be having about 4. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're going to chop this one here, and then that means the tomato plant will start putting its energy into the fruit. The second thing we're going to cut is, you can kind of see some leading stems here, so they're going to come out, and we're going to cut right down the bottom, and we're going to open the bottom of the plant right up. And then the reason for that is to allow the air to circulate around the plants, and then that'll help fight diseases. Also, if you remove the leaves that are above the truss, that should help the tomatoes that are below to ripen a bit quicker. And because we're now pushing late into summer, you want to try and speed that up. A little bit later in the video, I'm going to show you a couple of different techniques that we use to ripen your tomatoes towards the end of the summer. But for now, just give it a haircut. 4 trusses on outdoors and about 6 if it's in a greenhouse. Chop the top. You've got to be cruel to be kind, so literally just get it off, and then that'll help the tomato with the form of the tomatoes and then ripen them. So I'm going to finish giving these a haircut now. So once you've finished giving them a good haircut, this is what it should look like. Tops cut, all the lower leaves cut. Hopefully now they'll start ripening and filling out. Done. So we're fast approaching October here in the UK. You can't really tell, I've still got my shorts on and the sun is shining. It's still pretty hot, but that helps ripen these tomatoes. So what we're going to look at quickly is how to ripen your tomatoes before we start getting the first frosts. So we've chopped the tops, as we showed you earlier. That helps with the ripening. We've given them a haircut, again that helps the sun get on the tomatoes. Other methods of helping them ripen is also reducing them watering. So we've hardly watered these in the past couple of weeks, just enough just to keep them going. It also stops the fruit from splitting. And then another method is, so the banana I ate earlier, a brown paper bag and an elastic band. Pop the banana in the bag, some green tomatoes, Take that out, come on. So locking that into the bag, and then we're just going to leave it there for a couple of days. And the gases that are given off by banana and I think avocado skins as well help the tomatoes ripen a bit quicker, and that's what we need before the weather does start to change. And then hopefully that'll help you ripen your tomatoes. But I've got a couple of ideas for you, and I'll show you in the shed in a second. Other methods you've got to ripen your tomatoes are, as you can see here, we've picked the vine out and we've literally got hanging from the shed, and we're trying to get it in the light as much as we can. So just hang the vine upside down. We've got a little selection here on the windowsill, just trying to ripen in the sun. So sunny windowsills help ripen, as you can see with this one here. And then finally, we've got a bit of a selection just to take some off the plant. Some green ones in there, literally put a banana skin into a nice dark drawer in a cool environment, and then them should help you ripen up your tomatoes. So that is it for my tomato tip video. We've gone from the start to the finish. I hope right about now you're eating plenty of tomatoes, and I hope this video was of some use for you. Just before we finish, I want to show you, so these tomatoes on my left are the Mountain Magic ones from Nicky's nursery, and they were without a doubt the highest yielding outdoor tomatoes we've got, and we're still picking them now. One of our firm favourites is Sun Gold, if you can see that. We got them seeds from Sutton's and they've been like unbelievably tasty. One that we won't be growing next year is the pear drops. So they were indigo pear drops, so they were supposed to be yellow with a tinge of black. They haven't really worked, so we'd probably shelve them next year and try something new. And then finally, the black ones that we grew, they took so long to ripen, it was like pretty hard, and we struggled to get them all ripe, whereas the red ones seem to mostly all go. And that's about it. So again, I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have any questions, I'll try and answer them. Just pop them in the comments box, and just let us know how you got on growing your tomatoes and what was of use in the video. Just drop that in the comments box. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel, and also you can find us on Instagram at UK Lockmanteers. I think that's about it. So hopefully you're enjoying tomatoes and enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks for watching.